Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Beyth Temple Coral Springs online service. Hey, my name is Andre Johnson, and I am the lead pastor of this brand new life-giving church located right here in the beautiful city of Coral Springs, Florida. Hey, if you are a first-time guest, it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's service. If you are a return guest or you're a member of our church, shalom, welcome. I want to share with you that right now as a family, my wife and I and our kids, we are just waiting with anticipation. We are just waiting with bated breath, as they say, for the arrival of our brand new grandchild, James Vasquez. He should be here any day now, almost any minute now. Our son Carlos and his fiancee Catalina, they are expecting they're expecting James any day now. So we are super excited as a family right now. I just want to share that with you because I'm happy right now to welcome James into this world. Hey, I want to say too, if you are a first-time guest, first-time viewer, allow me to take a few minutes to kind of share the heart of my heart with you and the heart of our ministry with you as well. So I want to give you a few sentences that really kind of succinctly capture the heart of the ministry and my heart as a pastor. One phrase is this: we want to help you grow in the fullness of the knowledge of Christ. We want to help you live a better story because you're powered by purpose, and purpose, my friend, is everything. We have 4 key values that we have built our ministry on. We want you to be able to, number 1, know God. Number 2, we want you to be able to discover purpose. Number 3, we want you to be able to find freedom. And number 4, we want to give you opportunities to make a difference in the lives of other people. Let me unpack for you for a second, growing in the fullness of the knowledge of Christ. Let me kind of give you a quick synopsis of my testimony. When I truly began to grow in the fullness of the knowledge of Christ was when I discovered his name is not Jesus. And I was reading an English translation, and the name was translated into English. The original name for Christ is actually in Hebrew. Now, I broke that down in week 2 of the series Greater when I taught the message titled Name Above All Names. So I encourage you to go back and watch that because I don't want to spend a lot of time on that right now. But I do want to say to you that for me was my entry point into my growth. And so as people, if we're intellectually honest, right, we all value our names. If you're a parent watching me, if you have a kid or children, if the teacher in school, in the first few days of school, he or she mispronounced your child's name, you're going to correct them. If someone mispronounces your name, you're going to correct them. See, our names are important to us. And so when I was told that his name is not Jesus, and I was reading a translation, I didn't throw the Bible away and say, oh, I can't trust the Bible. No. I said, okay, I get why I need to read a translation, but I also get why I need to know the true Hebrew salvation name. So that's my heart for you. And what happened for me was that was the first breadcrumb that led me to another breadcrumb, another breadcrumb, another breadcrumb. And before I knew it, by the grace of God, what I discovered was the beautiful culture of God. So as a ministry, we want to help you discover that same thing. I want to help you unpack those same things. Now, I'm under no illusion I can teach you everything in a 30-40 minute service. That's not my heart. My heart, though, is for you to you do your due diligence. You actually study. You purpose in your heart to grow in the fullness of the knowledge of Christ. So as a minister, as a pastor, a part of that for me looks like this. I refer to Mashiach, or Christ, as Mashiach, right? That's the Hebrew for Christ. I refer to the Lord as the Yehovah. That's the Hebrew for Lord. I refer to God as Elohim. That's the Hebrew for, of course, God. Adonai, lowercase, capital L, lowercase O-R-D. So I use the Hebrew terms because we can't physically see Mashiach today. We're reading words, and the words and the names contain the culture. The names contain the identity. And often what happens, for probably you as it did with me, was that we completely lose sight of his culture, of his Hebrew identity, because we're reading English as a translation of the Bible. So there's nothing wrong with the Bible being translated if you don't speak ancient biblical Paleo Hebrew and or Greek. You need to understand what you're reading. But names should not be translated. They should be transliterated, which means you keep the true sound of the name in the original language, but you use different characters in your language to create those sounds. So again, I'm not going to belabor that, but I just want you to know as a visitor, as a first-time viewer, my heart for you is to grow in the fullness of the knowledge of Christ or Mashiach. Having said that, hey, I have a poll question I've been thinking about all week long. How many of you watching today are more of the actual reading the physical Bible kind of person? Turn your pages, highlighting, underlining, writing in the margins. How many of you are that kind of studier? How many of you prefer your phone or your tablet? For me, I'm old school. I like my actual Bible. I like to turn the page, highlight the chapter, highlight the verse, underline the word, circle the word, write in my margin. That's just me. So I'm curious as to how you actually prefer to read your Bible. So type in the chat box, the physical Bible or my phone or my tablet. I would love to get a sense of what everybody else does as they read Elohim or God's Word. Hey, today we're beginning a brand new series titled Freedom. This is one of my, actually the entire Bible is my favorite passion, but I mean freedom is a topic in the Bible that I'm just passionate about. Freedom, let me define freedom for you for a second. Freedom is defined as the power or the right to act, to think, or to conduct yourself any way you want, without hindrance, without restriction. Freedom. I've spent the first 5 months of our ministry trying to systematically show you that what Christ or Mashiach created was not religion. And in fact, what was nailed to the cross was not the law of Elohim, but what was nailed to the cross was religion and denominations. Christ offers us, or Mashiach offers us, a comprehensive freedom. He frees us from religion. He heals different areas of our lives that we need to be healed, to have freedom in. Because we have work to do. Somebody type in the chat, we got work to do. We have the work of the ministry to do, folks. And he needs us to be free. Number one, from religion. Number two, from the issues of our hearts, so that we can help other people become free as well. Getting that comprehensive freedom. Right? You've heard the saying, I'm sure, that hurt people hurt people. So Christ wants to heal your heart so that you aren't out there hurting people as you represent him. So freedom, today's message is titled Reframe. Reframe. Let me start with you for today's message, in the Gospel of Luke. We're going to pick up in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, verse 16. So it says, So he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went to the synagogue or the temple on the Shabbat day or on the Sabbath, and stood up to read. And he was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah, and when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Yehovah is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty or freedom to the captives, and recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty or free those who are oppressed. It goes on to say that Christ closed the book of the prophet Isaiah, handed it back to the attendant who gave him the book, and said to the crowd, or the audience rather, they said, in your sight, the scripture here has been fulfilled. I can just see in my mind now the audience saying, whoa, right? The Bible says they marveled when Mashiach said that. So Mashiach came and he announced the purpose of his ministry, to preach the gospel, the good news to the poor. And poor doesn't mean just economically poor. If you don't have the true words of Elohim in their proper context, then you're poor. You can be a multi-billionaire, you're still poor in God's economy. He came to heal. He announced, I came to heal the brokenhearted. As I said a few minutes ago, there are things in our lives, issues in our hearts that we need healing from, that keep us in bondage, that we aren't free to be all that we're called to be that light of the world. He came to set at liberty, or to free the captives, to recover the sight of those who are blind. And Christ or Mashiach did that physically for people who are physically blind, but also blind to the true teachings of Elohim. Recovered that sight as well. And again, to set at liberty, or to free those who are oppressed. So if you're watching right now and you're walking with Christ, your mission should be the same mission that he announced in the temple on this Shabbat. We have work to do. Type in the chat, we got work to do. But in order to do that work, we ourselves have to be free. Or at least working toward being free. You see, Mashiach said to us in the Gospel of John, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. So when we represent him to other people, we come into their lives so that they may have life and have it more abundantly. But we have to be free ourselves, because we can't walk around representing Mashiach, or representing Christ, with hurt that has been unresolved, undealt with, and we're refusing to deal with, and then either unintentionally or intentionally hurting other people. Freedom. So, when you think about his name, hence why we drive home the point. I mean, this is a nail that I hit over and over and over again. His true Hebrew salvation name has freedom embedded in its meaning. Hence why it's so important you do not translate his name. In his name, Yashach, it means to open wide or free, to be safe, and all avenging, defend, deliverer, help, preserve, rescue, be safe, bring or having salvation, save or savior, get victory. So his name, when you say his name, when you meditate on his name, there's freedom embedded in his name. And that freedom is for you, my friend, personally, and for you to give to others as part of our work in the ministry. So you can't really see him in its fullness with the name Jesus. These meanings here of Yashach, those meanings were the heart of God long before there was ever an earth. He knew that when he named his only begotten son, his life mission, his purpose, why he will be sent. in the condition of those who he was rescuing. So the name Yashach is freedom itself. Christ tells us again that he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. But you, my friend, nor myself, we cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. Again, I'm going to repeat. We can't have a positive life with a negative mind. So if we are going to work in the ministry, we have to have a positive mind. I mean, the Bible tells us over and over and over again what to think about, what to meditate, to take captive every thought, make those thoughts obedient to Mashiach. Because Yah understands that we cannot have a positive life. The life that Mashiach came to have us walk in, that life of freedom with a negative mind. Hey, let me ask you a question. I'm an 80s kid, right? How many of you are 80s kids? First of all, type in the chat box, 80s kid, 90s kid, 2000s kid, 70s kid, 60s kid, right? And I remember that we actually got HBO when I was young, maybe like 8, 9, 10 years old. We actually got HBO through cable, right? And I remember watching the movie Poltergeist as an 8, 9, 10-year-old. And that movie had me messed up. I mean, it had me messed up. Caroline, the TV, and her being sucked into the TV, and that clown in the corner. Man, I had nightmares for months and months and months throughout my childhood because I watched that movie Poltergeist. So what happened was, as a result of watching scary movies, I began to develop what we call mind monsters. And those mind monsters were under my bed sometimes at night or in my closet. But what happens for us as adults, that those mind monsters go from being under our bed as kids or in our closets as kids, and they are up here. And they follow us, and they haunt us. And then those mind monsters create a negative mind. And those mind monsters come to steal the freedom of the positive life, that abundant life that Mashiach wants you and wanted me to live. Let me share with you a mind monster that haunted me for probably 90% of my life. So when I was a kid, right, I shared the story, and I'm not faulting my parents, right? So I'm not saying my mom and my dad were bad parents. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just sharing an experience that happened that they didn't mean to hurt me, but they actually hurt me and created a mind monster in me. So first, let me start with myself. As an 8, 9, 10-year-old, I wasn't the most enthusiastic kid about doing my chores, right? And I didn't really like to do them. So when I had to do them, I kind of half did them. So I wanted to go outside and play, especially basketball all the time. So that would always irritate my mom to no end. Oh, she would always get on me about doing a poor, or she would call it a sorry job with my chores. But sometimes our words, right? Our words have power, and our words can inflict pain and hurt into the heart of the other person that you're talking to. So there were times where I'm sure I frustrated my mom, and it was on me, right? Because I was a 10-year-old who wanted to go outside and play and didn't really do a good job with my chores. But there were times when she would say things like, "Your little sorry ass can't do nothing right." And I would get things wrong, or I wouldn't do a good job on my chores. But as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, that hurt my heart, right? And then that became the anthem in my life. You see, my friend, too, there are events in life that happen to us that go on to become the story of our life. And so my little sorry ass can't do nothing right became an anthem in my life. And no matter how many things I achieved, being a police officer at 19, doing well academically, I still heard in my mind, my little sorry ass can't do nothing right. So in those times in which I didn't do a good job, or I maybe got a bad grade in the test, because there were those times I got a few bad grades in my test, that mind monster was waiting to pounce on me and to remind me that my little sorry ass can't do nothing right. And that haunted me, followed me in adulthood. And so I had to consciously work on getting rid of that voice in my head. I had to take that thought captive, make that thought obedient to Mashika. I want to share with you the story of the woman with the issue of blood. So I'm going to start in the Gospel of Mark. Because can you imagine the mind monster that she dealt with? I mean, for the last year, we've been dealing with social distancing because of COVID. Well, in Yah's culture, if you're unclean, there's separation from Yah's people. So she was dealing with social distancing a long time ago. And I'm sure it made her feel inadequate, less than. What's wrong with me? Let me read to you in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, pick up in verse 25, it says, "Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather she grew worse." Again, I'm not a woman, of course, right? But I can only imagine what that must have been like for her. 12 years. 12 long years. You go to physician after physician after physician, thinking, hoping, praying that the next physician you go to will have the answer, will have the solution, will be able to help. But none of the physicians she went to go see were able to help. In fact, we're told that it got worse. We're also told that she spent all that she had. I mean, she went broke as a result of this issue. So now you compound the issue of blood, the social distancing, right, with being broke. Can you imagine the mind monster, the bugaboo up here that she had to deal with? Think about that for a second. It goes on to say, verse 27, when she heard about Yashach, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said in her mind and her heart, if only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. She, in her mind, she purposed in her heart, she thought to herself, if I could just touch the hem of his garment. You see, word had spread all throughout the region of the miracles that Mashika was doing. So she had caught wind of it, and she was in the right place at the right time to be able to touch the hem, to be in his presence. So you, my friend, watching today, you are in the right place at the right time, hearing the right message. So that though you can't touch the physical hem of his garment, and through his word, you can touch the hem of his garment. It goes on to say, verse 29, immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she in her body, let me read again, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. Verse 30, and Yashach, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, who touched me? Again, stop for a second. We're told that when she touched the hem of his garment, that power went out of his body. And that power was received by her. The power that was received by her healed her immediately. Think about that. It goes on to say, but his disciples said to him, You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, who touched me? I can picture right now like the disciples Peter and James and John. They're like, Mashika, look at all these people. Of course everybody touching you. And they might have like, Mashika, man, look. It's a crazy question. It goes on to say, and he, being Mashika, looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman fearing and trembling, knowing what happened to her, came, fell down before him, and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. Man, think about that for a second. Think about the freedom that Mashika gave her that day. I want you to see the compassion in his heart and his voice. The words that he spoke to her was, daughter, the gentleness, right? The love. Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace, and you're healed of your affliction. She had to reframe her life from that point forward. The mind monsters that haunted her for those 12 years, she had to release and walk in freedom from. Imagine how she walked the higher level of awareness from that encounter with Mashika. But I want you to understand truly how her freedom came about. Her freedom came about because of her faith. Mashika said to her daughter, get that gentleness, that love. Your faith has made you well. So my friend, watching today, the starting point for your freedom is your faith. Is your belief that Mashika can do for you what he did for her. And faith in this context is your belief in your heart. Again, she said, if I can only touch the hem of his garment, I'll be made well. She did not have a negative mind, right? Again, you cannot have a positive life with a negative mind. Her life was positive. She's like, if I can touch. So this context, the belief began her freedom. Her belief was causative. It led her to take an action. She reached. For you, my friend, I want you to be free. So that you can free other people. Again, so you can make a difference in the lives of other people. You see, when we are not free, we don't have a positive mind, when we are beset by mind monsters, it causes us to conduct ourselves with a sense of cognitive disorientation. We lose sight of who we are. We don't have a healthy self-image. You know, there's a quote, I'm going to butcher the quote, but you'll get the gist of the quote when I say it. But it's something like this. It's in rare occasion that we think positively about ourselves despite all that we've accomplished. Because we have an inner voice that keeps score and is always judging us. So my friend, I don't know what your mind monsters may be. It may be that, you know, you've tried to be free from alcoholism or from pornography, which I struggled with in my life before, and I found freedom. It could be gambling. It could be abuse of relationships. It could be a whole variety of things that keep us in bondage. That in our minds keep score. Oh, you struggle with your weight. Oh, you kept trying I've been there before with that as well. You always fail on diets. Reframe those thinkings. Reframe those thoughts. Take those thoughts captive. In order to do so, though, it takes discipline. It takes you, my friend, being intentional. You have to be conscious of what you're thinking of. And a way that you can reframe your thought pattern is to use the statement I love from Coach Corey Davis, up until now. So when you begin to think negatively, and the mind monster begin to try to keep you in bondage, acknowledge it, recognize it, utter, up until now, I may have failed with my diets. Up until now, I may have failed with adult entertainment and how to be free from it. Reframing. Seeing yourself as valuable. Christ, or Mashiach, sees value in you. If you're growing in understanding right now in His Word, it's because you're chosen. You know, Mashiach told Peter, when Peter asked, Peter said, Mashiach, why do you speak to them in parables? Mashiach said to Peter, he said, because to you, unto you, it's been given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of Elohim. Unto them it's not given. So Christ, or Mashiach, sees something valuable in you if you're growing in understanding, if it's making sense. Again, He went to the cross willingly. He says that I lay down my life for my friends. He did that because He saw something valuable in you. And I know we can become beset with troubles, past problems, unhealed hurts. But as a ministry, this is why we're so passionate about small groups. Finding your crew. Now, I didn't say your clique. We don't do cliques here. But finding your group of people that you can feel comfortable taking the mask off and showing who you really are. Man, that was my road to freedom. A group of guys who I became friends with, who I felt comfortable enough to take my mask off, set it down, to risk being vulnerable. It's a risk. But again, if your crew, especially the crew at Beyth, are like me, then that vulnerability that you walk into is okay because you're in good hands. You have good people who are not going to hurt you, going to help you, who are going to speak life. As Toby Mac says, speak life, speak life. Okay, right? Because Mashiach wants you to be free. And so He uses people as His instruments to help heal you, to help you be free. And it's one of the things I can't wait for us to begin our in-person services, to be able to step back and just look at all the groups that form and how people are finding freedom in their lives. People are making relationships. They're discovering friends who become like family, brothers and sisters in Mashiach. My friend, freedom, the power or the right to act, to think, to conduct yourself without hindrance or restriction. Christ wants you to be free from religion. Christ Christ wants you to be free from yourself, from any limiting beliefs that you may self-imposed from a mind monster. So I want you to do a few things as you move forward. 1, make peace with your past. You are not the worst thing that's happened to you, my friend. You're not. You are so much more than that. And in Mashiach, you are a new creation, my friend. You are now Abraham's seed, my friend. Now, making peace with your past, it's a process. I'm not saying it's like a sitcom you watch, you do 30 minutes of work and you're healed, you have peace. I'm not saying that. I mean, I don't know how long that may take for you. It took a couple years for me to make peace with my past. But we gotta be intentional about making peace with our past. Number 2, hold your image. Right? Again, you are Abraham's seed. The family name, the surname that Mashiach gave to his kids, his sons and daughters, is Yisrael. In Genesis chapter 32, it says that we have power. Israel means to have, as a prince, you have power with man and Elohim, and has prevailed. Believe. Activate your faith. Hold that image. That's the image that Mashiach wants you to walk around with. I have power with man Elohim. Again, in a humble sense. Not arrogant sense or not abusive and like that. And number 3, connect with people. Find your group of people that you can be real with. Keep it 100, as they say. Right? Like even me as a pastor, things I struggle with, I go to my pastor. I go to my boy Nate or my boy Yosef, my boy Robert, right? Look, man, I dropped the ball here, dropped the ball there. I have men in my life who I can speak to. I can keep it real, take the mask off. So although we are doing life, we don't have to do it alone. Let's do it together. Collectively as a ministry, then even as in just a small group. So the question I want to ask you, to ask yourself, is this. What do you need freedom from today? What is holding you back? Are you beset by mind monsters? Are you facing an issue, although it's not an issue of blood, but an issue that you've been dealing with for 12 years, 15 years, your whole lifetime, that you've gone to either a physical doctor, or you've sought counseling here, or you've tried to heal it here, tried to heal it there, and it's gotten worse? You can be free. But that freedom begins with reframing and with your faith. I love Hebrews where it says, without faith it is impossible to please Elohim. Believe and allow that belief, my friend, to be causative and to call you to reach out and touch the hem of his garment. And that could be through the person who's walking with Mashiach, who's rooted in Mashiach, who has grown in Mashiach, who can speak the words of Mashiach into your life to heal your broken heart. What do you need freedom from today, my friend? Start that process. Start that journey. Freedom is there for you. We have to walk in it. All right. Hey, I look forward to, I know today's message, sometimes talking about our past and talking about our pains is uncomfortable. For some people, it's what we need, right? Because we deal with it on our own, in our own heads for a long time. And we need to be able to speak about it. So if you need to speak to me, I'm available. You can email me at pastorandre@BeythCoralSprings.com. I'll send you back with an email. Set aside a time, we can do a Zoom. We can begin to work on your freedom journey. Freedom, the power, the right to act, think, or conduct yourself without hindrance, without restriction. But because ministry, his mission, was to heal, preach the gospel, and set at liberty those who are captives and those who are oppressed. I want to see you free, my friend. We have work to do as a ministry. I look forward to seeing you next time. I say every week, you say, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a singer, but if you want to experience more of God's glory, come back next week. I'm going to help you live a better story. Be well, my friend. I look forward to seeing you next week.